I don't know what I'm doing. Hi, what's good? What's up? I'm Hannah. My forehead is so shiny. Welcome back to my channel. It's May. Well, when I post this, it'll be June. And I read some stuff in May. This is deliberately more confusing for you than it is for me. I read 3 books, which for me is good because I'm a human and I read at human speed, even during quarantine, it turns out. And now I'm gonna talk to you guys about them. I did this thing that I've seen other YouTubers do called doing a reading vlog, and I did those. I'm gonna tell you what books I read, and then we'll skip over to the reading vlog. The reading vlogs are full of spoilers, so if you guys don't like spoilers, I'm going to put a timestamp right here, and you can just go ahead and skip the reading vlogs, even though I put a lot of work into them, and they took me a really long time to make and edit, and I don't understand why anybody would watch BookTube if they're not into spoilers. I do not understand that. So this month I read The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo by FCE. It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Sugiura, and Most Ardently by Susan Mesler-Evans. Anyway, I'm starting the reading vlog now. I'll be back at the end to give you my review, and that's what you can skip to if you don't like spoilers. Here's me from several weeks ago. Hi, what's up? Hello. Taking these off. Don't even worry about this whole setup. I never leave the house anymore. I don't have to get dressed. You can't make me. So I'm on chapter 7 of Most Ardently, and it's been kind of a slog. I was really excited about getting it. Like when I heard the premise of it, I was like fucking stoked. And I just have not enjoyed it that much. There's a lot to enjoy about it conceptually, but in execution, I just haven't been that impressed. I think one of my major issues with it right now is that Darcy just doesn't seem that unlikable. Like I thought the disparateness between their stations in life, like how hard Elisa and her family have to work to just like get by, and how much Darcy doesn't have to do that at all. I thought that would like really come out and like be the basis for like why they don't like each other very much, but no, Darcy's really pretentious, but I'm pretty pretentious myself, so it doesn't make me dislike her. She just seems really awkward and sweet, and Elisa seems really harsh. This is kind of the first Pride and Prejudice adaptation that I've seen that paints Elisa as like kind of a dick. I am not sure what Darcy finds attractive about Elisa. Not that Elisa couldn't be great with another person, but like they absolutely do not bring out the best in each other at all. Like Darcy honestly seems really cute and reads kind of autistic, and so like I feel really bad for her that Elisa just like constantly dunks on her all the time. I thought that like Darcy would really start like there would be things that Darcy would say that would be unintentionally like really offensive or like at least hurtful, because they would come from like this deep place of ignorance based on the fact that she's been wealthy her entire life and Elisa has not. Or like I want to be clear, I don't want Darcy to be racist. I don't feel like I'm getting a good sense of like why Elisa doesn't like her, and I think there are a lot of reasons for Elisa to not like her, so I don't know why that's the case. I do like that Elisa's fat. I like that a lot. That made me really happy. Like I know it wasn't supposed to make me really happy when like Cora and the other shitty twin, I don't even remember their names. I know it wasn't supposed to make me happy when they called her the fat one, but like my whole heart lit up. Like I was so happy, like for just a minute. And then I continued listening to the book and I was bored again. I'm working on commissions right now, so I'm gonna try to listen to a little bit more, but I think I might be done for the day. Hi. So it's Saturday now. I'm on chapter 15. I'm still not loving it. I'm annoyed. Like, I'm annoyed. I'm gonna be out with it. I love Pride and Prejudice, but I especially love the 2000s movie. I think that's my favorite one. I refuse to justify myself to you people. I think the movie does a really good job of showcasing like what about Darcy is unlikable, especially early on. Like he doesn't come off as like super well-meaning. He comes off as a dick. Obviously like a lot of his bungling is due to ignorance, but it's also flavored with like this contempt for the poor. Elisa is actively making decisions based on the fact that she hates this girl. And I'm like, why? Why? I get disliking her. Like, you know, she's badmouthed her family and like she's super socially awkward. Like it's not fun to be around her. Like I get like avoiding her. I don't get hating her. Like she hasn't done anything big enough to earn it. And I think that's a big problem because we've arrived at the introduction of Wick. So here's the problem. Like, when Elisa doesn't have a good reason to hate Darcy, she doesn't have a good reason to distrust her when she says that Wick is dangerous. When a woman tells me, a woman, and I am very prideful, if a woman tells me that a man is dangerous, the fucking red alert klaxons start going off in my brain. Like, I'm getting no closer to that dude, period. People point that out to Elisa, but like, it seems less prideful and more just like dumb. Also, I'm having an issue with how the sisters are characterized. Like, the sisters don't seem to be characterized very distinctly. Like, you know, feel about the movie how you will, but like, I would argue that the sisters in that movie are characterized very distinctly, so that like, coming in, I had a very strong impression of like how they're supposed to act and like what their personalities are. And I feel like in this, like, they all have the same voice and they all have the same personality. Like, they're just not characterized very distinctly. And this is such a good story that I like. And it is weird to see it be told so ineffectually. I'm gonna do some more commission work, so I'm gonna listen to it more, but hi, hello. I sat down and I immediately realized that I hadn't talked about Colin, and I really wanted to talk about Colin. In the last chapter or so, like, Elisa like finally firmly rejected him. The fact that Colin is like so strongly autistic coded makes Elisa's treatment of him feel really, really awful to read. Like, I don't sympathize with her, and I hate that because I don't feel like that's intentional on the behalf of the author. It just comes off as so unkind. Colin literally, after their confrontation, discloses that he scripts, which is something that like I also do. So like, I'm super, oh my god. Oh, I'm getting really sensitive. Oh my god. Wow. Oh, I'm surprised. I'm surprised by how strongly I'm reacting to this. Ooh, oh my god. Give me a whoa. Wow. So, Colin is very strongly implied to be autistic. The way that he reads social interaction and the way that he acts. And it doesn't make him come off as a creep. It makes him come off as just ignorant of how he's expected to behave. And it's not helped by the fact that Elisa continues to give him feedback that's non-verbal and non-explicit. It just makes her come off as an asshole. I am very sensitive to people routinely violating my boundaries. I have dealt with creeps in my life, and creeps do that shit maliciously, and they do it on purpose. People who don't, I'm getting fucking heated. Like, has he been overly pushy? Yeah. But Elisa also hasn't given him any explicit feedback not to be. Like, as soon as she does, he's immediately like, oh, got it. And it just comes off like, it makes her look like a fucking asshole. You don't feel the same violation that you would feel generally, like when somebody transgresses your boundaries over and over, because you're too busy, like, or at least I was too busy looking at Lisa and just being like, just tell him to stop. Like, just tell him, like, clearly with words. Anyway, I got really upset. And I just don't think that that was intentional. Like, I don't think that that's how I was supposed to feel about it. I think I was at least supposed to be kind of like on Elisa's side. It just comes off very differently. It comes off very differently when it's like supposed to be comedic versus when it's supposed to be serious and you're supposed to really sympathize with Elisa's desire to not marry him. Like, I get it. I wouldn't marry him either, but like, I also wouldn't be a fucking asshole and scream at him in front of my entire family. Like, just use your words. You're supposed to be really good at that. Hi, hello. It's later on Saturday. I'm now at chapter 21. We are at the cabin with the scene with the chocolates, which is the scene in the rain, which is my second favorite scene in the entire book. I'm so annoyed. To recap, Willow just told Elisa what went down with Julieta and Bobby. You know, I was talking earlier today about the fact that Elisa doesn't have a sufficient reason to hate Darcy, and it's a problem. I've gone like the whole other way around, because now she has a completely sufficient reason to hate Darcy. Not even bringing up the fact that Darcy pegging Julieta as a gold digger. It's very contrived and convoluted how she comes to that conclusion in the first place. It's also a fundamentally racially connotated accusation in this instance. I know that there are issues with like personifying Elisa as an angry brown girl. I get that. If somebody did this to my sister, it's on site. It's on site. There is no scenario in which I do not leave the conversation that I am having. Like, excuse me, full sprint across the house to tear this bitch a new one. There's no scenario in which that is not exactly what happens. The fact that Elisa leaves the house instead of, busting Darcy's face. This is something that I would not be able to forgive for any reason. And then Darcy comes on and is like being all cute and like it doesn't feel like there's a tension between this thing she knows and how sweet Darcy is being the way that it does traditionally. It just feels jarring. I am somebody who routinely ships two women in such a way that will like never be rewarded or resolved by canon. These two have no chemistry, which fucking bothers me so much. It bothers me so much. Like, it's so inherent to Pride and Prejudice that they have such a raw, electric chemistry. I gotta get through this book. I gotta be done. I just gotta be done with this book. You know, Minerva, I just gotta be done. I just gotta, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hello, okay, so it's Sunday night, around 9. Finished my commission, as you can see. I also finished Most Ardently, and I'm just not very impressed. Kind of disappointed. Wasn't that enthralled by like any part of the book. Very standard, not particularly inventive retelling of Pride and Prejudice. I think missed the mark on a few key things that I think I'll be able to talk about more intelligently if I give myself more time to think. First impressions, just like I just finished it and I feel nothing. I feel relief that I'm done with it and that I don't have to keep reading it. Darcy's pretty cute in it. I'm not really used to seeing your Darcy and Elizabeth analogs have so little chemistry, especially when they're both women. Like, I don't know if you know this, but it is objectively true that women just naturally have more chemistry with each other, and I'm not biased in any way. But see, that's my point. Like, I should be really biased. Like, everything inside me wants to like this book. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're hanging out with Gatsby on the floor. This book could have been designed for me in a lab. It's like a mathematical equation for a book that I would enjoy. But like, I just kept thinking to myself, I've seen this plot done so many times, just so much better. And I'm really sad. I'm sad about it. That's like what this emotion is. Like, I feel just like, man, I really wanted to like this. Really big focus on Wick. Like, really big focus on like the predation aspect. Like, to the point where I was like, do you want to be writing a crime novel instead? And not that it wasn't compelling. I feel like that angle got more focus and was like more invigorating to read about than the fucking relationship, which is just a fucking bummer. Like, I don't know what to say. It's just a fucking bummer. Yeah. We're gonna go somewhere that a light is on. Hi. Hello. It's Monday. Is it? No. Wait. It's Sunday. I am waiting for my phone to charge so I can shoot some stuff. So I figured I'd talk to you for a little bit. What is this? I hear you ask. What is this? If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I finished Most Ardently yesterday and felt like really bad about like how much I just didn't really care for it. It's like one thing to dislike things, but I think especially as a white reader, when you dislike a book with two biracial protagonists, there's a little voice in your head, if you're self-aware, that's like, did I dislike this because it wasn't for me? And I think that that's a fair question to ask yourself, you know, whatever conclusion you come to. Because maybe the answer is no, maybe the answer is yes. I wasn't happy with that experience. And so I was gonna start rereading Jeannie Lowe because the second one just came out and I really want to read it. I'm trying to read books by Asian and Pacific Islander authors this month because it's
Asian and Pacific Islander American Heritage Month.
So I want to read books by authors and also books with protagonists of that same experience. So I was like, man, I just really want a book that I'm gonna like. I picked up Misa Sugiura's It's Not Like It's a Secret, and bruh, I love it. I love it. It's so good. Oh, the flavor is immaculate. It's so good. Like, I think I'm on chapter like 4 or chapter 6. I haven't been able to stop listening to it. I listened to it while I was putting my makeup on, which is why my phone has no battery so that I can film the look that I'm in, but it doesn't even matter because I'm like so, I'm so happy. Like, it is so cute. The prose is so charming. Sana is such a good protagonist, and I like instantly, like, I love her so much. I think I can really feel like I don't relate to teenage protagonists, and I don't think that's true at all. I don't relate to poorly written teenage protagonists. It turns out that if the book is written well, I like it. So I'm really excited. Like, I'm really stoked. Like, I just started it, so we'll wait to see how it develops, but so far, the amount of gay panic, like, we love to see it. We'd love to see it. That is also how I, a grown woman, feel when beautiful women talk to me. Highly relatable. Like, I'm very excited about it. So, yeah. Oh, it's so fun to read books you like. It's so fun to read books you like, you guys. Hey, what's up? It's been a bit. I had a kind of crazy week or two, and so I kind of like stopped reading, and then I realized that if I didn't start reading in a serious way, I wasn't gonna finish this by the end of May. I think I'm on chapter like 15, 16. I have been reading like a little bit, like just kind of off and on. I had to drive a bit for the first time in like several months, and so I did listen to it during the drive. Man, leave it to me to really enjoy a book about how interpersonal relationships are informed by racism. Do I have a brand? I guess so. I didn't want it to be this. Especially with like how hard I went on Most Ardently. This book is so good at describing attraction. And I say that as somebody who like doesn't experience attraction. I think that in order to get me to like buy in to like that your two protagonists are attracted, you actually have to do some fucking work. It's not like it's a secret. It does the fucking work, and I respect that. Like, Jamie is, I get it. I'm not Asian, and I don't like have those experiences to pull from, but there are lots of things about Sana's experience in high school that like I really relate to. Like, I do think that it was in high school that like I started to interact a lot more directly with like issues of race and marginalization. I think that's kind of when you're starting to come into your own identity, so you're doing a lot of talking about that, and a lot of you're coming up against it a lot, like as everybody starts to come into their own consciousness about it. I didn't have exactly these conversations in high school, but I had a lot of conversations that were like this in high school, where there's like this undercurrent of tension, and like nobody wants to say the wrong thing, but like everybody has heard a whole lot of shit from like a whole lot of different people, and everybody is kind of experiencing this and like starting to become more aware of how they've experienced it like routinely throughout their lives. Everybody's starting to be in this weird space that Sana is finding herself in, where simultaneously you feel a lot of community with people that you're realizing that you have a lot of things in common with based on your shared experience. For me, it was queerness in high school, but you're also realizing that like as part of like finding that community and finding that like safety and recognition in other people, by identifying like leaning into that, you are like in some ways like cutting yourself off from other people's experiences. And that's not necessarily something that you can avoid, but it is something that like is happening. I just find like the conversations and like what Sana is going through like just very, very relatable. There's all this stuff going on and you're just trying to get through like your academics, but also like there's all of this interpersonal stuff that you're dealing with, and it all feels incredibly dramatic and like high stakes. The audiobook is really good. Like whoever reads it is like very, very good. I'll find their name and I'll put it right here because they're excellent. Anyway, I really like this book. I don't know if I can finish it today. I probably could if I like really fucking put my nose to the grindstone. But I also got for my birthday, my mom got me a hard copy of The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo, and I might fuck around and start that also today. I want to have at least 2 books to talk about at the end of the month, so I'm gonna try to finish It's Not Like It's a Secret, but your girl might get crazy. Oh my god! I literally just turned it off. She had to tell Jamie about her dad having an affair, and I just started crying. I don't have anything to say. I just like, God, this book's so fucking good. Your girl is out here crying in the club again. Oh my god. I'm on chapter 24. She just told her friends, just came out to her friends. And I'm just, God, this book's so good. There's tropes in queer media, right? I was just so expecting her to lie and to be really mad about her like lying. Because like, of course, like, you know, you gotta live your own life. You gotta be true to your own circumstances. Not everybody's in a position where they can come out safely. But I hate in queer media how often like there is this trope of like somebody basically finds out and the other person like lies, and in so doing like besmirches and abuses the person that they claim to care about. And she didn't. She just told them. This book is really good at representing like the truth of a lot of high school relationships where you are in relationships with people who like, especially later on in high school life, by my own experience, like you're often in relationships with people that like you care about a lot and like they care about you a lot and they say fucked up shit, but they are like deep down, like they are good people. Like that ignorance doesn't come from a position of like knowing what the fuck they're talking about. Not that anybody bigoted knows what the fuck they're talking about, just that like when you're in high school, you're just so surrounded by people who just like, you don't know and nobody else around you knows, and you're just kind of parroting what you've heard other people say before because like you're coming into your own as an individual, but like you haven't experienced a lot, so like there's a lot of stuff that like you can't speak very knowledgeably to. This book does such a good job at like showing you like why Sana is friends with these people. Like Elaine and Han and Reggie all have really defined personalities. You know, even Han, who I think probably comes off the most abrasive, like the most often, I have a lot of affection for her. She's really sharp and she's really clever. Like you get where she's coming from. I'm so fucking happy. I'm happy and I'm sad and like I'm just feeling things. It's a rich tapestry. I would love it if Reggie and Han were together secretly. I don't think they are, but I would love it. I would love it if that were even a future thing. I think Reggie's queer for sure and just hasn't realized it yet. I don't know what percentage of my viewership is queer. I assume almost all of it. You know that thing where like before you're out and before you know who you are, you keep getting into friend groups and like you come to it and you're like, oh, I'm queer. And then suddenly it turns out that a whole bunch of other people in your friend group are also queer. We find each other is my point. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading this book and keep crying, I guess. So wish me luck on that. Hi, I'm just tuning in for the last time. Tonight I actually didn't get that much further. It's like 9:45. I had a brain blast because I haven't made too many predictions. I think Sana's mom already knows about the affair, and I think she's gonna be super pissed when she realizes, because Sana's like told almost everybody that she trusts in her life. I can't think of anybody that she trusts that she hasn't told. Well, because she told all those people because she doesn't feel like she can go to her mom, because they don't have a mutually trusting or respectful relationship, which is totally normal for teenage girls and their moms. And perhaps especially informed by Sana's position as an Asian American girl with a mom who's an immigrant and kind of adhering still to the cultural norms of rural Japan. But it's gonna be this whole thing, like really capitalizing on these themes of belonging and disbelonging. Basically the Japanese concept of in-groups and out-groups as expressed in the US, like through this one situation. My prediction is that her mom already knows and is very secretive of that information, but that in like keeping that secret, it also isolates her from everybody else. This is my prediction. It was in my brain and I had to get it out of my brain, and now it's with you. Hi, okay, so it's Thursday. I've been listening to It's Not Like It's a Secret since I woke up this morning. Right now I'm like at chapter 35-ish. I've got about like 3 hours left to go. We started the morning out really, really strong with a moment that I just found like crushingly relatable. So much of Sana's high school experience just reminds me like viscerally how it was to be 17. It hits different, as they say. That scene where she's getting into a fight with Christina because she says something really ignorant. I astrally projected out of my body. I was so mad at her, but it was because I just so strongly remember doing the exact same thing. You know, when you're young, you haven't experienced a lot, and you won't for a bit. You're kind of in the middle of your formative experiences. Even if you know something is fucked up and you can critique it in others, you haven't done a lot of the stuff that'll allow you to like pull that stuff apart and talk about why it's wrong. You just know that you shouldn't say it. But the fact of the matter is, because you don't hear anything different a lot of the time. Like, you're steeped in the biases of however you grew up. A lot of the time you just end up internalizing those things anyway, and then you just end up like regurgitating that shit uncritically, and it goes really poorly. Because like anybody who has a lived experience that's different from yours can tell you you're full of shit, and they actually know why you're full of shit. I think everybody experiences on some level being on both sides of that conversation. As a young cis white kid, I experienced being in that conversation a whole lot. So many of like my most embarrassing memories from high school, like the stuff that like it comes to me and I feel physical pain, is stuff that I said thinking it was fine that was not fine, and like adult me knows that, and so it just increases like how fucking humiliating it is to have ever said shit that dumb. I can so strongly remember that exact sensation of like wanting to be right even though like you do know deep down that you're not, and like desperately wanting to convince people that you're a good person even though the thoughts that you are espousing are like pretty fucked up, but they're the only things that you've ever heard people say, so you just say them. Oh my god, I'm reliving it again. Even in your own head you're like, just shut up, just don't say anything, just stop talking, but you can't stop talking, and you just dig yourself deeper and deeper and hurt people more and more, and that wasn't what you wanted to do, but it's what you're doing and you don't know how to stop, and you just want to be reassured that you're a good person, but you feel pretty strongly that you're not a good person and you're doing things that denote that you are not a good person. I feel like that scene is just so good. It so captures like exactly that emotion and exactly that situation in a way that hurt me to read about. The secondhand embarrassment was so potent, and I was just so mad at her. It's just like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, like shut your mouth. But you know, that's how you learn. Moments like that are how you learn and grow. I'm several chapters past that now, and the book like for the first time has kind of lost me. At this point we've got like three. We've got like 3 cheating subplots going on. Sana thinks Jamie is cheating, and Asana is cheating, and her dad is cheating, and it's just getting really convoluted, and I'm annoyed. It seems like a deliberate attempt to like make the book longer and like make it so that Sana doesn't have to directly address how she has hurt Jamie. Like, we basically haven't touched on that again since it happened, and I feel really weird about that. Like, that feels really strange to me, and like strange in a bad way. And it's not like the book doesn't give you like a good heads up that it's gonna be a lot about cheating. It's in all of the books that they're reading in English Lit, for example. I don't know what purpose it serves to introduce this into their relationship. I guess like I do see how it forces Sana to reckon with like what her mother is going through, but I really don't like it. My feelings on it haven't fully metastasized, but it's kind of pushing me out of the book and making me enjoy it less. I'm gonna crank up the speed and see if we can just kind of get through this part, because I don't like it. Like, I literally just like cried like yesterday about like how this book defies a lot of queer lit tropes in that like people just tell each other the truth. But now we're to a point in the book where everybody's acting exactly as most annoys me. Everybody's lying to everybody. Their reasons for it are stupid. The problem could be very easily solved if they just didn't, which they didn't to begin with. I'm touching my face a lot. Are you noticing that? I'm noticing that. Oh my god, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Okay, so I finished It's Not Like It's a Secret. I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I am glad I cranked up the speed. Man, the back third of this book. The back third of this book was rough. It's very well written. I did cry again. Clearly it made me feel something. I was just so... This was gonna be, I think, a 5-star for me. And the back third, like, I just felt so blah about. It was really disappointing, honestly. To compare this book and Most Ardently is literally, like, they're not even in the same league. Misa Sugiura's ability to create relationships that feel authentic and situations that, like, that feel real, like an internal self for Sana that feels real. Amazing. Like, it's very, very good. I'd actually be very interested in reading other works of hers. It's just so unsatisfying because it feels so contrived. And of course, like, it's a book, so like everything's engineered, but like it just feels so... I really hate books where people break up and then get back together, especially when it doesn't feel like the reason that they broke up has actually been addressed all that well, and like they don't do like a lot of work to get there. They just do like one big romantic gesture and then everything's fine. Sana's makeup with Jamie felt so, it just felt so short. It felt like it just didn't take all that much work at all. I feel like her makeup with Caleb took more time, more in-text time passes where she's like trying to get him to forgive her and like she can't figure out what to say to him and he like won't talk to her. And Jamie during that entire period is just gone. They never touch base about that big argument that they have that like made me feel all those feelings. They just never touch on that. Sana basically gets Christina to forgive her by mistake without doing any hard work to get there. It just feels so convenient and so contrived. It feels like the cheating subplot for Sana is a diversion so that she doesn't have to deal head on with like this thing that's been building the entire book, which is like this strong tension between what she believes about Jamie and her friends without realizing it and how completely unexamined those beliefs are. Like, you could argue that that kind of culminates in the cheating subplot because like she like makes decisions based on what she believes about Jamie without like trusting her or asking, but like it feels like a completely different, like it's a subplot that belongs to a completely different book. And for the last third of the book to be dedicated almost completely to that subplot and resolving it and like solving this problem that just didn't even need to happen, I didn't like it. I did cry when she was having that whole conversation with her mom. I actually think that the resolution of like her mom's character arc is really interesting. I was right, she did know about the affair, but like it turns out like the affair is going on for like a very interesting reason. And even though like this is like the super spoilery part of the review, I'm actually not going to tell you what it is because I really liked this book. I know that I just bagged on it for like a solid, I don't know how many minutes, but I did really like it. I gave it 4 stars. I think it's very readable. I don't know if I'd read it again. I might. I listened to the audiobook of this and the audiobook is amazing. Like I think I mentioned it before. I would not have cried this many times if I hadn't been listening to it on audio because the scenes are powerful, but like the way she delivers them is so good. Like it's so raw and real and it like really dials into like how it feels to be 17. It's fun to listen to. She's just a really great reader. She's a great performer. I recommend the audiobook specifically. It's like 3:45 on Thursday and I was naughty. I did start Jeannie Lo last night. I already like find it really cute and funny. I would not argue that Jeannie Lo is like a masterpiece of modern literature, but I really, really like it. But part of why I like it is because I know that like it's Chinese mythology, not Japanese, but it does read like it's very shoujo manga-esque. Like it has a very shoujo manga aesthetic to it, which I just love. Like I think it's very cute. I can already tell it's gonna go by really, really quickly. I actually might see if I can like bust that out by the end of today. And then I would have 3 books at the end of the month, which for me is very impressive. So I don't know, we'll see. Hi, it's Friday now. About 2/3 of the way through the Iron Will of Jeannie Lo. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of meh. Controversial opinion. I actually think that the action is one of the weakest elements of this series, and I've always been like way more into Jeannie's interpersonal relationships and like personal drama, and there's so little of that in this. This is like mostly epic battles. I'm getting through it. I mean, it's not that long, and it's also like it's a very easy read. Like I'm easily like 2/3 of the way into it, and I've only like I've only been reading it for the last 2 days, which obviously like for me is like super fast. It's a really fun series. The writing is so charming and it's very funny. I go pretty light on this series in part because it feels so much like a shoujo manga to me. It has a lot of that charm. A lot of it feels pretty artificial, but like in a fun way, not in like a convoluted or like contrived way. I think of Jeannie Lo as like the best kind of like potato chip book. I don't think it's particularly deep, but it is fun. I have a really fun time reading it. I think my issue with this, the thing that I liked the most about the previous book was reading about Jeannie and Quentin. I think they're really fun. I think they're super cute. I really like their banter together. Like, it's really fun to read about them interacting. And they just haven't been interacting very much in this book, due in part to the fact that they're like in this fight that does feel really contrived. I just have a serious gripe with the actual argument that they're having because it feels very forced. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. Jeannie herself, when she says the really mean thing that like starts them off down this path of like not getting along, she literally like in her head is like, wow, that came out of nowhere. And it's like, yeah, it did. Maybe don't comment on it. Like, it just feels really manufactured. Like, the fight that they're having feels like it could be really easily resolved, and it feels like the only reason they're still having it is because the author wants them to still be having it, and it sucks. The utility of it in the plot is to like keep them apart. And it could just be like where I'm at, but I don't think so. I really hate when writers go to a lot of trouble to get a couple together. The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo is literally all about them getting together, and they get them together, and then it seems like they just don't know what to do with them when they're in a relationship. The cheapest cop-out is to break a couple up between books or between installments so that then you can spend yet another installment getting them back together. Maybe this is because I'm playing the Uncharted series right now, and the Uncharted series does this literally every fucking game. I'm so tired of it. Why don't people want to write about people like actually being in a relationship? I just don't get it. Jeannie's like suddenly thinking about not going to college, which is totally rooted in real stuff. She's made getting into college, and a good college, like a goal for so long that she just doesn't even know what she would do when she gets there. That's totally real. That has legs. I would love to dig more into that. That is kind of just the small justification we get though for Jeannie basically doing like a 180 on what her goals are, where her goals are no longer to get into a good college. They are to make a lot of money quickly because her mom is in ambiguous medical trouble. It's all happening over a very short period of time. I don't know. Like, I'm just not really like, we're solidly out of 3 right now. Super readable, but like, I don't know. I love the Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo so much, and I was so looking forward to this. So far, I'm just not really feeling it. And I'm 2/3 in, so that's not a great sign. So your girl spoke too soon. That's my bad. Turns out that I told y'all what was going on right before the book got decent. Once Quentin and Jeannie started interacting again, when you know it, the book got good. I do think the plot of this one is weaker. Once we get to like world-ending stakes, I can't really get into it because it just doesn't feel real. We did straight up murder some gods in this one. That was a choice. Erlang Shen was back and just got fucking murdered. He did. Just kind of unceremoniously. Neja really got fucked over too. Guan Yin was there for like no reason. Guan Yin was there to sacrifice herself the entire novel. I'm like, what is Guan Yin doing except being like super cute and easy to like? And the answer was nothing, because it wasn't her time yet. And you know, like, I could get mad about like pretty much nobody gets any character development, but I'm not. They reference the fact that like they went on a whole bunch of interdimensional adventures together. Where is that? I want that! It stays a really easy book to like, fun to read. I think one of the things that makes it so shoujo manga like in my mind is like it's so easy to visualize. There are actual references like in the text to like images that are like really central to like manga and anime. The fact that like they literally go back at the end and like completely undermine the whole tragic sacrifice. I didn't even care. Like, I was just into it. Usually that sort of thing really bugs me, and I was just having a good time, so I didn't mind at all. I don't think it holds up to scrutiny. Like, I'm really annoyed that like Jeannie and Quentin like barely, like they don't really get to interact, because they are the best thing in the book. Like, they're extremely cute. We love some tall Asian girl representation. We love that they just like fucking love each other. You know what I mean? I'm just fucking here for it. I got through this book in like maybe 24 hours altogether, and it like, I had a good time. I think it really dragged for like the first 2/3 of it. That last third, I had fun. I'd give it a high 3. It's not a 5. It's not anywhere close. close, but it's also not a 2. I really, really like the first one. I think I actually might go back and reread the first one and talk a little bit about why I like it so much. The long and short of it was this one was not as good. I wish that the plot had been a little bit more like quite literally down to earth. I wish that we'd gotten a little bit more interpersonal stuff. This actually kind of feels like a very long epilogue to the previous book. Like it was just kind of tacked on to the end of the previous book. The growth that happens in this one happens so slowly and then all at once at the end. It doesn't make for like a very strong narrative. Like I'd struggle to tell you like what the themes of this book are. How to be a leader is like kind of at its core, but I don't really know what it has to say about that. It's a potato chip book. It's just fun, easy to get through, and charming. There are not too many books that I know like that for this age group with this type of representation of it. But that means that I have officially read 3 books. I read 3 books this month, yeah! I'm very proud of myself. Are you guys proud of me? Are you guys proud of me? Are you proud? Are you proud? Minerva, are you proud of me? Minerva, please tell me you're proud of me, please. Hey, what's up? You went somewhere, but I didn't. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do spoiler-free reviews of all of the books that I talked about, all the books that I read this month. Starting with Most Ardently, which I read the longest time ago. It's occurring to me that I should probably discuss like how I rate books. Essentially, 5 stars in my mind is love it. Don't have a fucking bad word to say about it. It's amazing. I will fight for this book. I want to reread this book. I want it on my shelf. Like, I will tell everybody that I know that I love this book and I want them to read it. I don't have very many of those, which is good because I have limited shelf space. I read a lot more books that I don't like than books that I like. I like to say that I have standards, but it is because I am a pretentious jackass. 4 stars is I solidly liked it. I have some complaints about it, have certain issues with it that kept it from being a 5-star, but overall I feel like it's very good. 4 stars is I really liked it, but 3 stars, super common for me. It is the solid middle of the road. A low 3 is like meh. It did some things well that I'm willing to acknowledge, and I didn't hate reading it. I don't have any strong feelings about it. A strong 3 is I had a lot of fun reading it, but it's got a lot of problems and I acknowledge them. I might recommend it to somebody, but I also might not. 2 stars is I acknowledge that you tried. I didn't like it, but I acknowledge that you tried. And I think we're better off in a world where this does exist rather than where it doesn't. 1 star is I didn't like it and I don't think you tried at all. It's bad and you should feel bad. I'm pretty sure the world would be better off without it. Get this book out of my sight. And 0 stars is I hate you. You owe me back the money that I spent on this book and the hours that you took of my life. If I see you, it's on site. It's on site. I will kill you if we meet in person. I don't give too many 0 stars, but I have given them and I will give them again. So Most Ardently is a Pride and Prejudice retelling starring 2 queer women of color as the 2 leads. There is Elisa, she's Latinx, she comes from a big family, and her love interest is Darcy Fitzgerald, who is biracial, rich, you know, it's Pride and Prejudice. You know these characters. My first note is disappointing. I was like so geared up to like this book and I just didn't. You couldn't put together a concept that I would like more than Pride and Prejudice, but it's 2 queer women of color. I'm ready. My body is ready. I don't know how you fuck that up, but let me tell you how Susan Messler Evans fucked that up. The 2 leads have no chemistry. Like, I'm just gonna put it right out there. They have no chemistry. I am the queen of enemies to lovers, and this wasn't it. Elisa, who is Lizzie Bennet, comes off as just a grade A asshole. She comes off as so mean, so spiteful. It just comes off like Elisa is the only problem in that relationship. Like Darcy is at worst a little bit pretentious. And that's just not enough to sell me on their relationship. The autistic coding for a few different characters is like way more on the nose, and that makes specifically Elisa's treatment of them feels so much worse to me personally. I will say that this book does do a decent job of taking the side characters of Pride and Prejudice and making their whole shit a little bit more interesting. But the sisters in particular really struggle with like a serious case of like characterization same face. It doesn't seem to make any sense that there are 5 of them because they're not 5 distinct entities. I gave it 2 stars. I did not like this book, and that sucked. So that brings us to It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Sugiura. I fucking loved it's not like it's a secret. It does have its problems. We'll get to that. So the main character is Sana. She is, I believe, 16 at the beginning of the novel, 17 by the end. She is a Japanese American girl living in Michigan, I believe, and her dad gets a new job in California, moving the family across the country. Sana has two secrets, and one is that she's a big fat lesbian, and the second secret is that she's pretty sure her dad is having an affair. The book kind of follows her as she gets to a new high school, instantly falls madly in love with another girl in her year, and kind of struggles to reconcile all of the secrets that she is holding inside of her. Really, really enjoyed this book. Incredibly well written. The characters are super multidimensional. Sana is a really interesting main character. I thought Jamie was a great love interest. Chemistry between them is genuine and you feel it and it's fun. This book forced me to astral project with how like pointedly scenes in it seem to be like pulling directly from my own experience in high school. The situations in it feel really real and the emotion in them feels raw and electrifying. I cried fucking 6 times reading this book, and I think partially that is to do with the fact that I listened to the audiobook. Performance of the audiobook is stellar. I cannot recommend it highly enough. So powerful, so evocative. The performer, whose name I looked up and now can't remember, again, I'm putting it right here, is amazing. She does different voices for all of the main and supporting cast. She was really good at like injecting the right amount of like hysterical emotion that you feel as a teenager, and I fucking loved it. It was great. I think that the first 2/3 of the book are really, really strong. The romance is super cute. The use of poetry in this book I thought was great. I definitely have complaints. The back third of the book is, I think, a mess. I am going to spoil a little bit here, mostly because I know that this can be a huge turnoff for some people. There is a cheating subplot within a cheating subplot in this book, and I hated that. I'm not anti-cheating subplots. I know some people are really, really against them. If you are, like, the last third of this book is going to drive you fucking crazy. It drove me fucking crazy. I think it, like, totally derails what the book is trying to do in the first 2/3. A bunch of, like, stuff that happens in the first 2/3 of the book, like conflicts that are set up, just get resolved off screen in a way that's, like, really unsatisfying. It's not horrible, but I did have to go from listening to it at normal speed to cranking it up to 2 times speed, and I just didn't put it back on normal speed. Once the problems start, they are consistent and they just kind of stick around. But overall, I did really like this book. I think there are some major problems with it, but I have no problem giving this one 4. This is a 4-star book for me. It was great. I really liked it. Thank God. It was such a palate cleanser. So, 2 years ago, I read The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo, and I loved it. We love it. It's sumptuous. It's so fun. I think of books like this as like popcorn, potato chips. Just something that you can really mindlessly indulge in. It has no nutritional value, but it is good. Could like eat it forever until you die. That's not to say there's no substance to either of these books. I don't think of them as the most substantive books that I read. They're fun to read. I think it's important that they exist. And it just really feels like a good shoujo manga to me. It feels very charming, very contrived, but like in a fun way. Very easy to get really into without thinking a whole lot about. It's really fun. It's easy to read. I am not as hypercritical of it as I think maybe I would be if I didn't like it as much as I do. All that is to say, I fucking loved The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo. I was really looking forward to this book. It is okay. To give you kind of a summary, The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo follows a girl named Jeannie Lo. She's the reincarnation of the and that is a spoiler for the first book, so maybe I want hold on. So she finds out that she's a reincarnation of a Chinese mythological figure. Let's go with that. Mostly because another Chinese mythological figure comes and finds her and is like, hey, it's you! And they go on lots of fun demon-killing adventures together. It's really fun and cute. I think it's one of my favorite boy-girl romances, like, out there. Jeannie and Quentin are just really cute together. The adventures of the last book kind of transition over this book. The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo just feels like a very elongated epilogue that could have been tacked on to the last book very easily. Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo is very based in like Jeannie's interpersonal conflicts and like personal life, her personal relationships, both with her friends and with Quentin and with her family. This book kind of just doesn't deal with that, and instead deals with a saving the world plot that I just could not care less about. The good thing is about 2/3 of the way through the book, she and Quentin start interacting again. And it just makes me so happy that I just enjoyed the whole last third. That doesn't redeem the first 2/3, they just feel so empty. I would recommend this book for people who really enjoyed the first one, but mostly I would recommend the first one. All reading The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo made me want to do is go back and read The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo. I wasn't disappointed, and it didn't make me dislike a book that I already liked. Anyway, yeah, that's what I read in May. I have a Goodreads that I'll put down in the doobly-doo. Oh, did I mention I have a Goodreads now? I also have another Goodreads, but that's for me. That's mommy's secret Goodreads. And I also have a Patreon. In June, I'm gonna be doing this again. In lieu of actually going to Pride, I'm going to try to read a whole lot of queer lit, which is not different for me at all, but you know, it'll feel thematic. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. I really need to sign off. My camera's running out of batteries. Bye.